is here to uplift and inspire you for you to set your destiny. Do not let anyone deter you from your life, your choices, and your dreams. It's all about you. Honey, through the humps and the bumps, you'll be all right. Speak for impact. Here to make a change and not stay the same. Here to make a change and not stay the same. Here to make a change and not stay the same. Speak for impact. Here to make a change and not stay the same. Here to make a change and not stay the same. Speak for impact.
Yes, welcome. Second Sunday, y'all, of November. The clock is ticking. We are here again. Myself, Julinda LeDee, Speak for Impact, along with the amazing Charles. What's going on?
Hey, we are here. We are here.
Yes, it has been an amazing week. As you notice, I have on my little captain hat.
You ready
I'm
for
feeling like a
business right
boss.
now? You
I'm
ready for
feeling like a boss
business?
right now. Okay, I am the captain of my ship right now.
Amen to that.
Yes, it has been an amazing few days. And I just want to start off like, again, we talk about our show. Folks out there, ladies, gentlemen, especially you ladies out there, this show is about having meaningful conversation. I'm a motivational speaker, so I want to remind everyone there's always a silver lining, there's always a purpose. So this conversation is always about you and it's meaningful. And we talk about things that can help you get to the next level, resources, but we want to share our lived experiences because our lived experiences actually empower one another. And that's what empowerment is all about. Even as a motivational speaker, I tell people, I'm not going to tell you anything that you haven't heard before. I'm just here to reignite that fire that's burning inside. And sometimes, we got to relight that match, right? So sometimes that fire dims and we have to put a little bit more wood in there, right? And that would be our support system. So again, it's all about you, meaningful conversations that can elevate us and take us in that direction because individually, when we come together, collectively, we're just so much stronger and we can make anything happen. So again, what's going on with you, Charles?
I'm excited for the I'm excited for the topic. I look at this as a openness to be able to ask questions, and this is a women's summit, so getting a women's point of view or perspective about things that they see, observe, what it feel like, what it tastes like, what they struggle like. To me, I want to know, like, I mean, I feel like we all have to be a student of not just ourselves but other people as well. I mean, because it's our only way to like try and pour into people, but you have to take the step, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, today's topic is actually out of a booklet that I have. It's a coaching booklet, and it's a 4-week discovering yourself. And so the first week is we're going to just talk about that. The title is Discovering You. Think about that. Discovering You. So the theme is knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So the question is, what wisdom have you gained along your journey? And how has this not only helped you, but even others around you? So knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So what wisdom have you gained? Let's talk about that.
Well, I'm gonna flip it to you. I'm gonna give you that question, ladies first. So what have enjoyed or dealt with throughout this journey? So that question you asked the people, I'm asking you to start off.
Well, you know what? I'm going to take it back to this week, because like I said, I had a powerhouse week. And it's, again, part of being a powerhouse is knowing yourself, right? Knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses. And that is one thing that I learned throughout the years is know thyself. Know what's going to set you off. And this goes back to boundaries. When we talk about boundaries, it's very important to draw those lines. So, for example, I was supposed to have a meeting with my supervisor on Thursday, but I also knew that there was a Black Leadership Kitchen Cabinet meeting on Thursday. So normally when I meet with my supervisor, it's in the morning, but this time it was rescheduled to the evening. While the Black Leadership Kitchen Cabinet meetings are held at lunchtime. Now, mind you, as a Black woman being surrounded by Black professionals, it is an amazing feeling, y'all. And I'm surrounded by folks from all different backgrounds, from the public defender's office, folks working in education, our public health workers working for our county, just different folks with different backgrounds. Some are retired, some work in real estate, we have investment brokers. We're surrounded by powerhouse, right? And so it really sets me off for the rest of the day once I leave there. Okay. You got the scene.
Got you.
But I knew if I met with my supervisor after the fact, I could go in feeling more empowered, or I could avoid that meeting and just feel this dynamic Black power for the rest of the week.
All right. All right.
So I chose to take a mental health day.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right.
And the amazing thing about that is that the meeting was held at the Santa Clara County Public Health Department,
Wow. Wow. Okay.
right?
All right.
Where we're talking about services for community, mental health, housing. They were talking about vaccinations. They were talking about epidemiology. They were just talking about so many different things that contribute to us as individuals and then us collectively as community to be healthy, to be strong, right? And so I share with one of my members, and she's amazing. She's a nutritionist. And I shared with her, I said, if you ever need a testimonial about this group, I said, I would be happy to give it to you. Because as a Black woman in San Jose, there's few of us. Our numbers are very slim. I mean, I think it's like close to 2%, if that. So therefore, when I go to these meetings and there's 45, 55 Black folks professional in the room, it's a dynamic feeling.
Yeah.
And they make you feel welcomed. It's just amazing the different topics and life choices you can get introduced to. So this public health meeting also had a presentation about healthy eating and veggielutions and solutions about growing your own herbs and taking it back to our ancestors. So being in this room, not only does it fulfill me mind, but body and soul. And they also had a session where a sister did an African proverb and incorporate that into natural breathing. You know how you go to sessions and they tell you to take that deep breath and then
Yep.
release it?
Yep.
Well, she did something a little bit different. She had us form our hand in a certain way, and then she had us inhale out of one nostril and then release out of another nostril.
Mm.
It was this amazing, calming feeling when we were on a rush to an agenda. So I was completely grateful that the wisdom that I gained was I don't want to lose this feeling and I want to protect this feeling.
Yeah.
So I took a mental health day so I can enjoy the rest of the day. And it was absolutely beautiful because after the meeting, I was able to take my time and mingle and network with others. And that led to other dynamic conversations that supported my confidence, that supported my value, and that gave me most definitely a sense of belonging. And that is something we do not always get at work. And I do not expect it at work. But I do know how to seek out fulfillment in other areas of my life. And this is one group that gives me fulfillment. And I wanted to protect that feeling. And I think that we need to gain our wisdom and understand what is healthy for us. and what can protect us throughout the day. So, again, I want to remind everyone, if you have personal time to take off, take it. If you have vacation time, go on a stay vacation. You don't have to go far, but your health is vital. I mean, I'm not a doctor, I don't know all the data, but times are changing. And I know myself, I'm getting older. I'll be 55 soon in a couple months. But people are having more heart disease, heart attacks, right? We have different things that are going on with our bodies and our minds with dementia. So we really have to protect ourselves. And I can say, with the wisdom that I've gained throughout the years, I'm learning how to protect myself.
So let me ask you a question, because I find it intriguing, um, that this is something that you decided yourself you wanted to do. So discovering you, is that an everyday thing where you like, you know what, today is going to be the day I'm going to do this? Did you make a conscious effort to actually just be like, you know what, no matter what's going on today, this is going to be the day?
Actually, I look at my calendar quite a bit. So I look at things that I have scheduled, meetings that I have to attend, and it somewhat prepares me, right? So I'm getting my mindset like, okay, I have to be at this meeting, so I need to prepare for this, and I have to be at this meeting. So yes, I took conscious inventory. I want to attend this meeting. However, this other thing is scheduled after the fact. It doesn't necessarily align with how I want to feel for the rest of my day. So yes, I made a conscious decision.
Because I look at discovering yourself, and I know that it works different for everybody.
Hmm.
And I could tell you a story about, discovering me took forever for me to figure out that, oh, damn, I got to discover me. Like sometimes you forget yourself in the midst of what you mentioned earlier, like 9 to 5. We got to do what we got to do to get through the day. But sometimes you have to stop. Sometimes you may not have a choice. Your body's going to tell you to rest. Your mind's going to tell you that as well, with all the stuff that's going on. You know what?
Hmm.
I come with that. You know what? The day kicked my ass, but you know what?
Hmm.
I'm gonna take a minute to
Hmm.
so I can be able to reflect, recharge, and reassess. But when
Hmm.
it comes to women, give me a perception on just the burden that a lot of women have in order for them to achieve it. Because y'all women seem to be wired all day, like y'all just go 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 go, and I hardly ever see women just pause and want to just take care of themselves.
Right. And that goes back to the discovery, right? So a lot of women, some women have children, they have husbands, they have family, they may care for their parents, a father, a mother, a grandparent, right? You may have a niece or a nephew, or siblings. I've had that. So I think gradually, life builds up. You become a wife, a mother, a caretaker, you're working full time, or you may go back to school, you're picking up skills. So I think this is part of this discovery, because everything you're walking into and building is new, right? You didn't have a hand booklet on how to be a mother. You didn't have a hand booklet on how to deal with these difficult days. You got overdue bills or too many bills, your check is short, or some extra things done popped up. And I know for me personally, as a mother, it was always something. I had 3 children, they're all adults. But the picture day, right? Something was always happening at school. Mom, I need to buy a book. There's a fundraiser. So you learn how to navigate these challenging situations, right? And then, of course, you're going to get burnt out. And I'm going to say most people, because we don't know how to balance immediately. Life is just coming at you. So you just know you got to be here, you got to be there, you got to drop them off at the dentist, they got to be at the cheerleading, whatever it is. My oldest ran track, he had us all around the world, right? And so you do hit those tough nights at home. That, I mean, I tell people all the time, like, no one knows when you're crying, no one knows when you're staying up at night, no one knows those deep worries. And this is why you have to discover who you are and how much you can bear and draw those boundaries. But I'm going to say it is a discovery process where you have to learn, you know what? I'm not going to have the most vacation time on the books. I'm not going to have the most, PTO time on the books. I'm going to learn to take time for myself. And I will tell you, some people never learn. And this is how people get sick and die on the job. And I know this personally happened to a dear friend of mine. Her son in law passed away and had a stroke and died on the job. This was maybe 3 years ago.
Mm,
And his wife tapped into his stress.
mm.
His wife tapped into his stress. She asked him, take some time off, consider a career change. It was he and his wife and his two children.
Mm.
She saw the stress. He was bringing it home. He was expressing something to her. She asked him to take the time off. Charles, he would not. He had a stroke and died at work, and he was 49 years old.
Wow.
So
Wow.
this is very real. And so you can decide what is it going to take. And generally it's a discovery. Usually people will start to change their eating habits once they get like diabetes or diagnosed with something. It takes something severe for them to make that change. But sometimes people will make that change during that journey. They start to discover, what is it do I need to feel better before it gets to that point?
You know what? You hit something that triggered me because, just from my experience, I dealt with that. I mean, I went from knee surgery to high cholesterol, and I was like, oh shit, I got to change the way I do things because if I don't, I probably won't be here. Like, as I'm getting older, I got to figure it out. Right. But why do you think, from a woman's perspective, why do you think we wait too late? Because I feel like I waited late. And, even though a lot of people will say, you know what, better late than never. And I can harness that, and I can just be like, all right, that's fine because I'm still here to be able to tell my truth and all this other stuff. But why is it that we, from a woman's perspective, that we don't get what we get until like way later in life?
Again, I believe it could be a cultural,
Hmm.
many cultures, we work hard, we come from that background, where we came from hardworking families. That's what we saw, that's what we seen. Those are our examples, right? I know for myself, I use my grandparents a lot as my role models because I didn't really have my parents in my life. As I mentioned before, I'm former foster. So my grandparents really set the bar. My grandfathers, they served in the Air Force, they were homeowners, they were engineers, they were experts in their field, they took care of their families, they were providers. But the women still played that role. My grandmothers, they did work for periods of time, different things off and on in their lives. Um, Not maybe like a real type career, but they did contribute to the household by having different types of work. But they cared for the home, they cared for their children, they cooked, they cleaned. I mean, my grandma, she tell me stories how my father could sniff her and he knew what she had already prepared for the day, because she baked and cooked. And I had the pleasure of experiencing that. So, with that being said, women care for so many folks in the house. And whether they're sick or not, they still have to cook and clean and make sure everything is cared for. And I feel like women have been raised and groomed to be the backbone,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
know? And so we take in other relatives. Some of our folks I know, they're caring for their in laws, their parents. Some have Alzheimer's, dementia, So there's always something going on where you're expected to just care and care and care. And we have not been taught to rest. And we haven't been, it hasn't been acceptable really to complain, right? So I think that it's a cultural thing and it's part of self-discovery. And my youngest son is 26. And I just want to say, I want to shout out to you, millenniums. They really taught us what uh, mental health was about, that it was important, that they felt overwhelmed. It was too much. They weren't afforded the American dream, like the baby boomers being able to buy an affordable home. Even
Right.
myself, not able to do that. But when I've asked my son something, he's like, "Mom, that's too. I don't have the bandwidth for that. That's too much." And I'm learning to listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "Okay, I'll come back at you tomorrow."
Yeah. No, you're right. Cause I think about my grandma and what she went through. Cause after my grandfather passed away, it was her trying to take care of 13 kids, right? Think about it. 13 kids. She had two
Woo.
jobs. She had two jobs. She worked at Del Monte Cannery and she also worked at Safeway and retired through it all. But just to see that hustle and bustle to do what needed to be done to raise all these kids. Now, a lot of the kids as they got older, they were, they can take care of themselves for the most part, but
Right.
they still bills needed to still be paid, stuff still needed to be done. It's a grind, and I think back on just the thought of like, could I do that? Hell no, not in this day and age, or whatever else is the case. But shout out to Tamala who's listening, and I have it up here. She said it's okay to use a sick day when you're not sick. Hell
Mhm.
yeah, for a lot of different reasons,
Mhm.
but the biggest one is to make sure that you recharge, because you go out there into this workforce right now and something happens to you, just like you said that your friend's husband, that person's gone. You know what they're
Mhm.
going to do is replace that guy with somebody else.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's vital that people out there just make sure you tap into your
Yes.
own you and
Yes.
figure it out. But I know it's hard for everything that you said, Julinda, and everything that I could tell people out there nowadays. But what do you think is going to take for people to get it? Like, not just get it when they hit 30, 40, 50s, but get it as they're growing into themselves, because there's a lot of errors that you and I have gone through in our lifetime, a lot of mistakes that we made, a lot of highs and a lot of lows. But how can we help other people see the value in discovering you?
I'm going to say first, you tap into Next Legacy Radio every second Sunday from
Ah,
12 to 1.
there it is, that's it, that's
Right
it.
there. We are going to support your discovery, y'all. Again, it's a process and you have to be somewhat intentional. I know for myself, when I was going through some things, I personally was praying for spiritual maturity. Now, spiritual maturity, again, it's discovering yourself, know thyself, right? Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know what you can do, and know what you can't do, right? And so, with that being said, not everyone is praying for spiritual maturity.
Right, right,
And
right.
so, not everyone even has that mindset because you got some stubborn folks in the world. What they know is what they know, and there's no other way than what they know, and they are not willing to grow. These are people who are not seeking out additional courses. They are not seeking out personal one on one coaches. They are not seeking out therapy. They are not seeking out support systems. But those people who are seeking out something for themselves, they're seeking for enrichment. So when you seek for enrichment, you become more open to different perspectives. And it's not necessarily that you change your perspective, but then you are more aware that there is another perspective.
There you go, there you go. My truth is not always my truth. I may believe it. I may believe it. It is what I am supposed to do. But you know what? That's why you have to seek it. That's why it's important for everybody to go seek another opinion. Like, you may not believe what me and Jalinda is talking about right now, but I promise you this. If you go out there and you figure it out, like, oh yeah, they was talking gospel about this, like, about it.
Yeah.
So you're validating yourself, but we're telling you to go do that. It's okay. It's okay to do that. But I think
Yeah.
discovering ourselves, and just, from my perspective, when I see women go through that, because my grandma, same thing you mentioned, generation, my grandma, my mom, my aunts, like, there's so many people with the burden of trying to either raise a family, take care of kids, or just fit in a world where, in my opinion, women needs more in terms of support, financial
Hmm.
support. Did I say support? Let me say
Yes.
support again, because I
Support,
feel like
support.
that's important. Like, I just feel like we don't give it enough, because we already know it's a male dominated world out there. We just have to make sure that we channel that and help women discover women. So
Mhm.
from your opinion, and I'm gonna throw you a little curveball,
Oh
Jalinda,
my
right here on
goodness.
Speak for Impact. So from a opinion from you, watching me and other men, what
Okay.
can men do to be able to help nurture that?
You know, I guess I will say communication, because communication is everything. When we even talk about perspective, to understand one's perspective, you have to communicate. And so sometimes we are not completely honest with ourselves, and we're not completely honest with our mates. So it doesn't even really matter the relationship, if it's a male female professional relationship, or even romantic or marriage, right? Even brother and sister, mother and son, right?
Right.
Um, my son even said something to me yesterday. I inserted my advice to him, and he said, "You know, Mom, I'm going to listen to you." He says, "But I haven't even been telling you everything. I've been confiding in my father." Right.
Wow.
And so for me as a woman, I just get to sense things. I get to figure it out, and like a puzzle. And that's a strength that we women have. And that's something extra that we carry. So I would say communication is very important, because we can ask each other questions, but part of communication is active listening. And so, as you know, I have a short video on my YouTube channel. If any listeners are willing to subscribe to Julinda LeDee on YouTube, it's about effective communication. And when we communicate, especially with male and female, I'm gonna give you an example, because I had something the other day that happened, communication over Facebook. But men and women communicate differently. And I myself, I'm only going to speak for myself. I don't want to speak for all women, but I, for myself, I enjoy walking in my feminine energy. I used to tell my brother and tease other people, I say, I'm a flower, be delicate with me, right?
You should.
Because sometimes men are a little bit harsh the way they speak. They're a little bit rough and lightweight, rude. But I feel like we need to communicate that. I need to be able to communicate and say, Charles, I'm a flower. Can you be a little bit more gentler with me when you speak to me? Right.
Mhm.
And you can receive that or not receive that. You can decide to say and be like, I am who I am, and I'm going to stay who I am. And this is the way I communicate. And that's on you, right? Whether you want to, fool with me or
Ooh,
not, right?
ooh.
You can come off like that. Or
Hey,
you can say, you know what? I hadn't thought about it like that.
I think if I'm trying to build a partnership or any kind of relationship with you, I better not say that, like, ever. Like, because the clapback would not only be real, that's just like anything suicide when it comes to like stuff like that. I think is no, you're right, but the comprehension piece of that, and as I mentioned to you before about just how men can be able to help women discover who they are, is to not just be that, but just show that with action in terms
Mhm.
of, here, let me put this into play for you because I know this is a dream of yours. Let me try to level it up. And I think that goes with anything, relationships, marriages, friendships, whatever the hell. You just have to make sure that, hey, if I'm a pour into you, because I'm just now, Jalinda, I'm just now figuring this out for myself. Like, I love to figure out, like, oh, you know what? I've been pouring into everybody, like, seems like all my life. But you know what? I want that back. Like,
Yeah,
can you get that back to me? Like, in a way where it's organic and not just because you have to do it. Like, and
right.
I think from a men's perspective, I think we need to pay that forward to women as well, to be able to give them that confidence boost if they're feeling low or if their energy's off, to be like, you know what? I got you. Let me go ahead and see if I could be able to hustle this up or do whatever to be able to show that support in certain ways. And I think it's hard though from people to discover themselves, but other people to pour into that because Jalinda, we live in an egotistical world, right? There's so many people who just, I don't want to do that. It just seemed like that's too, I don't want to be feminine. I don't want to show my lady or my partner, whoever, that I got you. Like, but that's stupid. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yes. And you know what? And I love what you said, even about the leveling up and supporting someone. It can be as something, especially like in a relationship, when a woman expresses herself and says, she feels neglected.
Right, right, right.
Now,
So from a
again,
male's perspective, how am I supposed to take that when you say you feel neglected? Am I gonna be like, why? I do everything. Why do you feel like, and fill in the blanks or whatever, instead of, you know what, let's figure out the why. Like, I want to know why, but I'm not going to have an attitude with you as you literally like strip it down and tell me how you feel. Like, am I supposed to, crush my soul by you telling me that, you're not fill in the blanks? No. But you know what, I didn't learn that until later though, because to
right.
me, I took it personal when you said you weren't happy. What? You
Yeah.
weren't fulfilled, but I'm doing everything. I'm paying your bills. I'm doing you figure it out, whatever it is, right? But no, you have to sit down and you have to realize, like, oh no, it's deeper than that. So let's
It's,
try to figure it out, because it is a cry for help, but it's also in a way in to discover her as well. So
yes.
we have to figure that out, because if we don't, it's gonna be too late, and you're gonna get divorced, or you're gonna get kicked out of the
Mhm.
house, or whatever it is.
And that's why I was saying about communication and active listening, right? And being open, because when you're really listening, now you're really being open, you're being intentional. Like, I am listening to this person, I am receiving, this is what they said, and this is what they need from me. And I will admit that some people are not able to articulate what they need.
Right.
They just know something doesn't feel right. And I will say sometimes that's an internal thing. And this is why we talk about our confidence and empowerment and support, because we can't expect people to heal us or fix us either. That's part of discovering who we are, those areas in our life where we feel broken or we feel neglected.
and
So
the and
that's
the
part of that discovery that we must find healing.
and the key to that is, necessarily, you don't want to be fixed, you just want to be supported. And there's a difference between that, as
Yeah.
you figure out yourself or whatever. It's like, you know from me and my interactings, because dad wasn't in the house, so I grew up
Mhm.
with my brothers though, but there was still a lot of women in my house, right? So I saw the dynamics, I saw how women treated women and different things like that or whatever. And sometimes I always find it hard, like, as you go through life and trying to figure out who you are, like, I want to support you, but what happens, Jalinda, when you want to pour into them, but they don't want to pour into themselves? That's where it gets a
Yeah.
little awkward, right?
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that you want to pour into someone, but they don't want to pour into you, or they don't want to pour into themselves.
Yes.
Um, Time moves so fast, but a couple weeks ago, last month, I was at the Leadership Women's Conference for Santa Clara County, and I met this amazing, beautiful woman, and we just started talking. I let her know that I was a motivational speaker and I offered speaking services. And I mentioned that my background, I'm former foster youth. And so she says to me, she goes, she and her husband, they adopted her nephew, and he was biracial. And she said they adopted him from basically a baby, an infant, a young toddler. And so she said they gave him the best of everything. She said he had a stamp from almost every country in his passport. He went to the best schools, he had the finest dining. And she said he still chose the streets. And I said, I can relate to that. I said,
Yeah.
it's an internal thing. You can't buy that. No one else can give it to you, because when you don't feel good about yourself, there's nothing anyone can give you. And I even admitted my own, one of my own faults that I had. A woman, I wish I could find her. She's out there. Her name was Linda Jones, Linda Evans. She was a director of a group home I was in. And she ended up taking me in when she knew I was in a tough spot. I didn't even stay with her that long, Charles. I had my own room, a walk-in closet, my own bathroom. Just, I got a part-time job. I was going to school. She and her husband were about to teach me how to drive, and she gave me the world. But I still packed up my little duffel bag and
Wow.
got on the bus and ran away to nowhere, to the
What?
streets of East Palo
What?
Alto, not knowing where I was going to sleep or eat that night.
Wow. Wow.
And so I was just sharing with her, when a person doesn't love themselves or knows how to receive love, when they feel so broken inside, there's nothing, there's no trip, there's no private school, there's no lobster, there's no Paris, there's nothing you can do to fix that. That person has to discover themselves and discover the love for themselves. Because when you do not love yourself, you cannot receive love, nor can you give love. You can only pour from a full cup. And unfortunately, love is hard to come by.
Yep.
You see this world today. I remind people when we're in settings, this is a small sample size. People won't even talk to each other in a small room. We won't even introduce ourselves, introduce who we are, introduce our first name, to be open to receive each other, even in a small circle of maybe even 10 to a dozen. People just won't do it. So just imagine on a larger scale. And then people are walking in with hurts and pains. Therefore, I believe that statement is true. Misery loves company,
Yep.
because birds of a feather flock together. This is why our circle is so important. So I am fortunate, even though I was in the system, it taught me about seeking healing. And Charles, I was trying to call you the other day. I don't mean to get off track, but it aligns with this. I tried to call you the other day and you didn't answer, and you text me back later and said, did you need me? Do you still need me? How can I help you? Right.
Mhm.
And I was calling you because I was attempting to do my first interview. I was
Really?
interviewing a former group home counselor who knew me when I was 15, 16 years old. And I was calling you to ask for some advice. But Charles, I couldn't even record the interview. We were on the line for about an hour and a half. I cried the whole time,
Oh my
Charles.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
I was in tears the whole time. I had to tell this woman that I loved her and that I was sorry and that I was grateful for her. And she told me that she loved me too and that she was proud of me. But she knew me well, so some things haven't changed. She let me know that I was stubborn towards authority. She let me know that I always knew that I was not my circumstance. She said that I was always headstrong and I always could justify whatever behavior, and I was willing to accept my consequences.
Well, you know what? I am so sorry that I wasn't there right then and there for you,
It's
because to me that would
okay.
have
I couldn't record it
that would have
anyway.
maybe, because to
Especially
me
when you
I always think
crying the
about
whole
it.
time. I don't
I
think anybody,
know.
I had my tissue like this. I was crying the whole time. I was like, oh my goodness.
And you know, Julinda, because even if you would have had, like, some issues, and I could have been there like that, I could have told you, look, you know what, there's an alternative to how you record, so we could do it like this or like that or whatever. So I could have saved you a few tears or whatever. But I think what you said is it hits my soul for a lot of reasons. We asked the question, like, why does it take so long for people to discover themselves and get it? You just said it right there. You just threw it out there. Like, a lot of people don't love themselves, or they find like in the midst of trying to stunt for social media and want to be perfect, when the cameras are off or whatever, like, it's a different kind of feeling. And I think it needs to start not just with you. Like, listen, I'm not trying to impress nobody nowadays. Like, if I'm a win, I feel and just FYI for the record, and I know you know this,
I'm
Julinda, because you and
in.
I have talked. I love myself.
Oh
I may
yes,
not be
yes,
perfect, but
yes,
I
yes,
see you
yes.
right there. You stunting because you love yourself. You're not trying to show off for the gram and all that other stuff. You trying to be your best self, and that energy resonates even
Yes,
in your flaws and everything else that you do. You embrace them. You learn from them. You get better. You know
yes,
why? Because you're discovering who you are. You're
yes,
still discovering yourself, right?
yes.
So it's up to us to be able to figure that out, because we can't do this for other people. We can't do it for the ones that's listening right now. And for the ones that's listening to us, go figure it out. We're just trying to amplify that in a way where it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the most important thing to be able to take. And Tamala tapping in as well. She said that's because they did not live for themselves and they were living for someone else.
Mhm,
And that is the key to it all. And if
mhm.
people understand that, the moment they realize, like, you know what, after the fanfare of all this stuff that's going on right now, I still got to live with me. You know what? I better make sure I go to bed at night and not stress over who I am. I could
Yeah,
stress over something else or whatever, but I listen. The day I started and stopped stressing out over things, life is a little bit simpler.
yeah. I want to point out to Tamla's comment. She says, because they did not live for themselves, they were living for someone else. And I mentioned this earlier, some of that is cultural, right?
Yeah.
Some families, I met a woman, she's from the Asian culture, and she said she got her first degree for her family. She got an accounting degree and she got an accounting job. She didn't like it. She was bored. She hated it. But that was the expectation in her family, to be an accountant, an attorney, certain titles that she was expected to have. And then later on in life, she earned her second degree in English, and she became an elementary school teacher and then a high school teacher, and she loved it. And so sometimes we are living for ourselves. I know some people will stay married because they're staying for the children, right? Or some people are just staying for whatever the family dynamics are, if it's financial reasons. So sometimes we do compromise ourselves because of our situations, but we have to understand that we have to make ourselves a priority, because if we do not make ourselves a priority, no one else is going to make you a priority. So
Facts.
you have to set the boundaries, right? You have to set the standards, and you have to set the standards high for yourself, especially when you get to a certain point in your life where your children are grown. This is the time for you to discover yourself. This is the time to take some classes, whether it's, yoga, hiking, whether it's a foreign language, doing something that's going to ignite your fire. Again, I'm not telling you anything new. I'm not telling you something you haven't already read. I am just here to remind you, you have something amazing inside of you already. We are just here to tap into it. You have so many gifts, you have so much purpose. But again, it's up to you if that's who you want to become. And when I was having the conversation with my former group home counselor, her name is Wanda. I want to give a shout out to Wanda. She's out there in Florida, and her husband, Lester. She's an amazing woman. But not only was she loving and kind and stern, honey, she was on point. She had her hair on point, her nails were on point, her swag was on point. She was a woman, and she was a married woman. So she taught us how to be feminine. You don't have to walk around hard, ladies. And I know that life has weighed you down, and that's why you walk around like that. That's why people have chips on their shoulder, because literally the world has come down on them.
Yep.
And you have to seek that healing to release that. Women, I want you to walk in your feminine energy. I want men to want to open the doors for you when they see you, because they're going to see a lady coming and they know what their job is automatically. That energy is real.
Yep.
They will know, let me open the door. Here comes a woman. Let me say, excuse me. Let me say, thank you. Let me move out of her way. Let me offer her a seat, right? You will get that type of energy back when you display it. And it usually comes from healing, ladies. Be that flower, whatever it is. If you want to be a lily, if you want to be a rose, whatever your favorite is, right? Be that scent, be that musk, be that sweetness, whatever it is you want to be. But tap into that. Discover that you are truly a woman and you are deserving to be treated like one. But again, we have to tap into that. We have to release that aroma to let them know there is a woman in the house.
That's right.
And there's nothing wrong with being eye candy, ladies.
No,
Someone's got to be that.
trust me, it's no, no. Hey,
When
hey,
I
hey,
when I
hey,
know I
Julinda,
have
I told you about eye candy. I told you. I told you. You already know.
yes, there is nothing wrong with that, especially if you know you have a meeting, you might be the only woman in the room. Wear something nice, wear your favorite fragrance. Why not?
Yeah,
Remind them what a woman looks like.
that's right. A
And
real
I
woman.
myself, I love being spoiled. If somebody wants to spoil me any kind of way, I accept it all. I have some amazing girlfriends. We go to dinner, they take me to dinner. So, I mean, again, I receive it all. So, I enjoy being a woman. I enjoy being spoiled. I enjoy when you allow me to be sensitive. I enjoy being relaxed. I enjoy being calm and I enjoy being at peace. So when we have clear communication with one another in relationships, we can let each other know what we need and allow that other person to receive it, listen, digest, and see how they can move forward and make those adjustments so y'all can have a healthy relationship.
You know how you have a settings and whatever it is you got, let's just say YouTube, you got to go in, you got to click your settings and you got to adjust it to the settings. You just broke that down right there, how you want your settings to be. You want calm, you want a nurturing environment, you want to feel like a woman. You are setting that bar, not
Mhm.
necessarily a bar. You're setting your settings so other people can either adjust to it or whatever the case. I want to send a shout out to, there's people in TikTok who can't post live, but they did have questions. So, Jalinda, the one question one of the ladies who wanted to remain nameless asked is, with brand new moms still trying to discover who they are, will there be a workshop that you can be able to present or create one of these days so you can be able to do that? Because to her point, new moms, you got to instantly be about your baby or babies, right? So how do you discover yourself in the midst of still being a mother?
Ooh, that is a wonderful question, and that is a challenging question. Whoever answered asked this question. For myself, what I immediately thought about was having my third child. I have postpartum depression. I did not know what that was. All I knew is that I was having 104 fevers. I knew I had to pick the other kids up and drop them off at school. I knew I had places to be, and I knew I did not feel well, but I didn't have a choice but to do it. And again, I didn't have my mother in my life and I didn't have that regular woman in my life. So I didn't know what I was going through. And I was fortunate enough one day when I took my little one to the pediatrician. She asked me, she said, are you home alone with your three kids? And I said, yes. And I was with Kaiser and I didn't know Kaiser sent a nurse out to check on me every other day. So I had to stop nursing the youngest one because they said I was passing on stress. It was stressful for the baby, it was stressful for me.
Wow.
Um, and I had to get my healing before I could pour into my child. I'm rephrasing that right.
Yeah.
So, ladies, this is important for you to ask your medical providers what resources are available to new mothers. I mean, just ask that question alone. I didn't know how to ask that question. I didn't know to ask that question. if you have medical providers, ask them, how can I maximize my resources, or what resources do you have for new mothers? And that can be a gateway, because what happens is you'll most likely meet other mothers, and you can share information, and you can share resources, and perhaps even start community. Community is important, ladies, because many of us are feeling a certain way, but what we do is we isolate ourselves, we keep it private. And I know pain hurts, and I know it stings, and I know sometimes we may even be embarrassed by it. But this is why we must ask for help, because I promise you, you are not alone. You are not alone. That would be the first thing I would ask. Ask your medical provider, what are the maximum resources, are all the resources, any resources for me as a new mother? And then start from there. But I think that would be a great future segment. Again, my children are adults, but I've been through that, ladies, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the misbehavior, all that. Um, like Tiama said, it's okay to ask for help. And again, start with your medical provider. Ask them, what resources do you have for me? Ask your local community center. I know we have some amazing centers out here in San Jose. I know Roots Community Health is amazing. I know the Ujima Center, they have breastfeeding courses. They have role for men through the county to support men as fathers. So yes, we must ask for those resources. That would be the first thing, is to ask for that help, just like you asked this question. Ask.
And I think that's a start too, because if you're coming here asking questions, and that means something triggered you where it was thought provoking, where you feel like, you know what, I need to throw that out there. So
Mhm,
that next step is realizing what that next step can be, and what that
mhm.
can be is you seeking other options in order for you to be able to tap into that. Because I can't tell you what it's like to be a woman, and a woman giving birth, and a woman being a mom, and a woman breastfeeding and doing all the things she needs to do in order
Right.
for that to happen. But I will tell you this, from a male's perspective, is we don't see it enough to help enough. And I don't care if you're a single mom, or if you're an uncle, or if you're a cousin, or whatever it is. Like, from us as guys, we need to do better to spot certain things instead of it just being on some selfish type stuff. So we got to make sure that we all deliver. And I still believe in the whole it takes a village
Yes,
anyways, because I grew up with a semblance of like that. Trust me,
yes.
when I got in trouble, my neighbors told on me quickly, people. So and to help too, though, they helped feed us, excuse me. They were there
Yeah.
in a lot of different ways. So it's important for us to be able to pay more attention to people. Now, you can get distracted with all this social media garbage. We're on it, but try to seek game instead of just being on it to be on it. And then
Right.
if somebody needs help, just go help these people. We
Mhm,
need it. We all need
mhm.
it. I
Yeah.
may sound confident right now, but I don't have perfect days. I may have a down day or something. I may
Yes.
not be feeling myself on a certain day. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's important. um and I know we have, closing in on 4 minutes, but I definitely want to make sure that I tell people once again to make sure y'all go and check out Speak for Impact, www.speak-for-impact.com. Scan the QR code if you want to book Julinda for the next speaking event, as well. And Jalinda has something going on going into the new year. So if you could talk about that as well, that would be great.
Actually, we're starting it. So, anyone interested in a 4-week session, you can schedule this privately one-on-one, or if you want to have a group that wants to work with me, we can work in person locally, or we can work online. You let me know what works for you. So if you are interested in a 4-week empowerment session where we meet once a week, either in person, online, you decide. And my rates are very flexible. I am willing to work with you. So if you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with you, big or small. So let's start off the new year empowerment with one another and for ourselves. Let's tap into who we are. And with that, Charles, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You always throwing me a loop. I'm gonna throw you a loop. Since we're discovering who you are, I want you to tell me who you are using 3 words.
Ooh, 3 words.
3 words. Ooh, who is
Ooh,
Charles
ooh.
Madison? Oh my goodness. Why is it taking you so long?
Dedicated,
Okay.
resilient,
Okay.
confident.
Ooh, I like it. Yes.
All those I have to be because I believe in me. And I think that's I have to be dedicated to what I do.
Mm.
Not just business, but personal.
Yes.
Being a father, I will live for everything because I need to do that, and I will die for everything if I have to. I have to be resilient because to me, I would love, I mean, it's the journalist in me too. I'm always discovering stuff. You could tell me anything, Jalinda, and I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I'm still go, like we talked about earlier, I still gotta go figure it out, and find my own niche, I guess you could say, right? And
Mhm.
confident. If you can't be if you can't be confident, you can't do none of that stuff. You know what I mean? So that's important. That's important.
Yeah.
And since we're throwing it back to each other like that, let me ask you, when did you discover you?
Oh, I'm gonna say in my latest years, I'm gonna say I've discovered my greatest in the last few years of my life. And I love who I am. I love being resilient. I understand what it's for. I understand what those challenges are for to make me better. I love it. I have to walk in confidence, even having being an entrepreneur. How many times do we hear no?
Yep.
99% of the time. Gotta have thick skin. You have to believe in yourself. I'm confident. I believe in myself. And the last thing you may say is vain, but I don't give a damn. I know that I am pretty. I know that I am beautiful. And I didn't always feel that way about myself. And I love who I am and I love who I become. So there it is.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So check it out. Before Jalinda wraps it up, and now I didn't tell Jalinda this, so this is
Oh my goodness.
brand spanking new. So we do this every second Sunday of every month. So the next we won't do is until December. So this is brand new. So people out there better go tell somebody and let them know this is what we're doing from now on. So we had some good energy going on in the comment section. So I want to thank Tamala as well. Omizi, want to send a shout out to him as well. And Miguel Diamonds too. Those three are in the mix for a $25 Amazon gift card that
Ooh.
we will announce next month. So
Ooh.
Jalinda and I will pick the winner. We will announce the winner on our next go around, and that winner will already be notified because they will already have the gift card. Saying that is to say, y'all better go tell somebody to tap in and comment and show love and everything else because you can qualify for something. This month's a $25 gift card. We don't know what's next. It could be something
Ooh.
bigger. You never know until you start commenting. So all these people out there that's listening and will be listening when we run this back, it's up to you if you want to be. And it's free. All you got to do is comment, tap in, let me know what your thoughts are, and you're in
I
the
love
running
it.
automatically. Bam, there you go.
I love gift cards. I love to
Listen,
shop.
listen. All you got, the people don't qualify, the hosts don't qualify. So Jelena and I are not. We can't put ourselves in that thing. So sorry, Jalinda. We got to figure out something for you and for me. But I'm just saying, like the people, y'all.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tamala, Meezy,
Yes.
Miguel. Y'all three in the running. We will announce the winner on the next one, but you will be informed prior to because you will have a gift card.
Oh,
And
that's
gift cards
dope.
is easy. All you gotta do is just literally I just need their email and then bam, we're good. With a $25 gift card, can't go wrong.
Yes,
Can't
yes.
go
Thank
wrong.
you. This is dope.
So, Jalinda, take it home with the rest. What are your thoughts? What are your final thoughts and everything else?
I just want everyone to walk in the new week. Today is the first day of the week. Just walk in knowing that you're absolutely amazing. Do not let anything discourage you. And whatever challenges come up this week, just know that it's a test to build those strong muscles to help you be the leader that you are to become. So again, just be fabulous all week, despite it all.
As said by Julinda.
Yes,
Thanks, Julinda.
you're welcome.
Speak for Impact is here to uplift and inspire you, for you to set your destiny. Do not let anyone deter you from your life, your choices, and your dreams. It's all about you. Honey, through the humps and the bumps, you'll be all right. Speak for Impact.